Good morning to our LinkedIn network. What a beautiful day we are having today. I can't believe it. It's wonderful. Today's special episode has brought out some of EWN's best. Dr. Matt Joyner, VP of Education, and Mr. Claude McKee, who manages the EWN compliance team. Good morning, gentlemen. How are y'all today?
Good morning. How are you, Jim?
Fantastic. Thank you, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Claude, you good?
I am. Thank you. Good morning. Glad to be here.
Well, I have to tell you guys, I'll say this publicly, that I feel my brain cells are growing exponentially by the second, just being in the same audience with you two. So I thank you for that. My brain thanks you for that. And as always, my partner in crime, Mr. James Cross, is with us. As always, we don't do this alone. We do it together. Sir James, how are you today?
Sir James, like I've been knighted.
I like that.
I'm good, man. We are privileged, just like you said, to be joined by Matt and Claude today. And I too, I'm praying I learn a little bit by osmosis from these guys. But here's the deal. We have an important initiative going on in EWN, and we kind of pulled some cards today to get these two fellows here that are really spearheading that effort. So over the past month, EWN has pivoted just like a lot of companies out there in regards to the COVID crisis. And we began offering the Master Evaluator Certification Program. We call it MECP, but online, okay? So Jim, we've heard a lot of people over the past weeks that we've brought in for these coffee segments talk about how they've changed their business to really avoid disruption to their clients and to the industry. But this one has made such an impact with our industry's essential workers. And so without stealing any thunder from these two, I want to introduce Matt Joyner really to tell us a bit more in detail in your own words what it is that EWN decided to do with the Master Evaluator program and why.
Yeah, James, thanks for having me today, and it's good to see both you and Jim this morning. We are really enjoying what it is that we're doing with the Master Evaluator certificate program, moving that to a synchronous online format, and I'll talk a little bit about what that means. As you guys are probably aware, we have had quite a few of our instructor-led trainings that we have traditionally had face-to-face. We've had those not just on the EWN headquarters location, but we have a great partnership with the Decatur Conference Center here in Decatur. That's made it a great opportunity for us to teach at their location and have our clients stay next door at the new Marriott Hotel. That's been really nice. Great opportunity for those folks who do need to travel in and take advantage of the great state of Texas and our community here in Decatur. One of the things that COVID prompted, that quite frankly we've been talking about for quite some time, was the option of a recertification program for our 8-hour Master Evaluator Certificate program that we would be able to hold virtually. Several reasons that we have kind of entertained that idea. First and foremost, the convenience of our clients. EWN is one of the most client-focused organizations that I've ever been a part of. And one of the best things that we can do, especially in a time of crisis, when folks are having difficulty traveling, maybe budgets are a little tighter than they've been in the past, is make it possible for them to continue to maintain their evaluator status without traveling far from home. And that really is kind of the impetus there for the RECERT program, and it is a 4-hour. I mentioned before that it is a synchronous opportunity. I would like to kind of make it compared to the same kind of experience that you would have in a classroom, and I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit more later, but it is very similar to an experience that you would have in a classroom in that you and the instructor are in the same place at the same time, able to interact and ask those questions. And so that's what we call synchronous, two people doing the same thing at the same time, as compared to a virtual learning where you're receiving the information, but you don't have that instructor there to ask those questions of.
So Matt, I get that we did it really to provide flexibility to our folks, So just to kind of catch up people that maybe not aware, who necessarily MECP applies to, can you give them a little bit of detail or clarity on that?
Yeah, the Master Evaluator certificate program is designed for anyone who performs evaluations in our industry. And traditionally, as I said before, that has been a 8-hour certificate program. One of the things that we have done for this particular arrangement is we do ask that individuals who come into the recertification offering have completed their in-person 8-hour within a 3-year period. But that certificate program applies to anybody who needs that credential in order to do their job out in the field and perform those evaluations.
Let me ask a quick question to Claude, because Claude, from what I understand, you instructed the first online MECP course. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is. When the ILT department reached out and asked me if I'd be willing to, get in there and take that on, I was really excited to do that. So I did have the opportunity to teach the first class that was offered virtually, on the web.
Okay. So just to help me a little bit more, so what is required for an online class and how does it work exactly, like nuts and bolts?
When you look at hardware or anything along those lines, there's really not a lot of requirements. You do have to have a stable internet connection. You need to have a microphone, webcam, so that way we can engage when we're in that class. It obviously lends a lot to it, being able to see the participants, being able to see their reactions and kind of read their tone, and then engage with them, right? Being able to get on that microphone and have those questions come out when they come up is very important when we're going through that class.
Okay.
Claude, you kind of stole my thunder there, man. That was my next question. We understand when it comes to training and education, engagement is everything, right? I don't have to preach that to this group. So how was the engagement? You taught the first one in that class, comparative to the classes you've taught, live in person. How would you compare the engagement in regards to the online version?
So I would actually say, in some instances, it may have actually been better. You always, when you're giving instruction, anybody that's a trainer will know that, you kind of have a class champion that stands out, somebody that's really willing to jump in there and help things kind of go. And I definitely still had that when I was virtual. I was really worried that people wouldn't be willing to, step up and ask those questions or put that input out there. And that wasn't the case. I really had a lot of really good input, people willing to share experiences and things that they've seen in the field. And that helps. I mean, when you're going through and you're teaching a class, to have somebody that can do that. And then I was able to engage everybody separately as we went through. If I had specific questions, I could direct it to a certain person and then get their response. So I still had that full engagement of the classroom style of training, even though we were in this virtual, atmosphere.
James, let me interject real quick. One of the things Claude just mentioned there was the engagement factor, and I think that's absolutely mission critical. And frankly, one of the things that we worried about when we talked about the possibility of doing this online, as you guys are well aware, EWN is all about relationships. Relationships are absolutely critical to what it is that we do as a company in our division. So. And in our division. So I think it's important to note that the system that we arrived at, the platform that we use, is not your typical Zoom or Google Hangout or some of those other types of arrangements. This is actually an online classroom that really does make it possible to interact and to learn in a really, really cool fashion. Just as an example, there is a chat feature between the instructor and the participants that can even be a private chat if you choose for it to be. Individuals who might be in a classroom, maybe sitting amongst their peers, might not be as willing to ask a question with fear that it might make them look maybe a little less than. So they can actually ask that question of the instructor privately and get that question answered. And so I think that's one of the powerful things that can be done with this particular platform that we're using. We also use polling in this classroom as well, which is very powerful for the very same reason. It allows people to weigh in and talk about things that they know, maybe things that they don't know as well as they should. And it allows the instructor to kind of pivot at that point and target specifically the needs in the classroom to make sure that everybody's making progress and getting where they need to be.
No, I appreciate that. As I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about our audience, the energy industry, as well as other industries. You know, we're across the whole board. Are there any major takeaways that you've learned so far that to help share to help our audience members?
I guess the major takeaways for me, to kind of jump in there, was, I was kind of looking at, how do you guide their attention when you're in a virtual atmosphere? And that, with some of the tools and things that we had, we were really able to do that. So that was, phenomenal from an instructor side, being able to really guide the participants as we go through this process and we discuss these things, getting them to focus in and engage on what we need them to be paying attention to at that time. So that was my takeaway, that I really enjoyed that part of the class.
Matt, did you have anything?
Yeah, Jim, I think the thing that was most memorable, the thing that probably is my biggest takeaway, as I sat there, we've actually had 2 of these MEC recertification classes so far. And obviously the one that Claude did was our first, and we've had another couple since then. I guess the thing that I was struck with the most was the participants and the environments where they were coming from. In both classes, we had individuals participating in that class who were very clearly in an office, maybe an individual who was sitting at home, maybe an individual who was out in the field in some sort of housing arrangement out in the field with kids and a wife and baby and kids in the background. And I think the thing that I was really struck with in both instances, in all instances, was the fact that this is real life. And we are really taking this great instruction that we have always had and making it possible for people to continue their jobs, continue to support their families, not lose that credential that they have had and will continue to have, but doing that in the comfort of either their office or their home, without the added cost of travel and time away from work and that kind of thing.
Matt, that's a good point. And as James had said earlier, we find it amazing that the more people, we interact with and talk to in like this setting, and how we learn that as we face this pandemic, we as an industry, we as a country continue to learn and to be better. And I think that's just amazing that in the grips of all this, again, where there's always bright spots and things we're learning and things we're doing better. So I just want to say that. Gents, we can't thank you enough for your time today. I'm proud to be part of the team providing this innovation to our industry. Again, sitting with the 2 folks here that have spearheaded makes it so much sweeter, and my brain power has grown, exponentially again. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, and guys, I'll echo the same thing Jim said. We can't thank you enough for joining us, teaching us really what the next generation of distance learning looks like. And as always, if someone or someone or yourself would like to join us on Coffee with Jim and James, we'd love to have you. Reach out to us. If you have any questions or need more information about our MECP program, our online MECP, connect with Matt Joyner and Claude McKee. Reach out to us. We'll connect you. God bless you all. God bless this industry, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Be safe.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen.